doesn't feel this way at all. But the Yankees have won 3 straight series. It doesn't have that feel. But what's also interesting is that how the mood can be so much better where you win the last 2 games of the series, where you lose the first one and win the next 2, right? So it's like that's also a big part of it. But a lot of house cleaning to do here in terms of what has happened since we spoke last after the Astros series. So, there was All-Star game, but really the big thing was just COVID hit the Yankees hard, really hard. So that's going to honestly take up a lot of this episode, more so even than the Red Sox series itself, which was a pretty crazy one in some different ways. But so the Yankees come off that really, really tough loss to Houston. I mean, almost swept the Astros and Altuve and all that shit. And then they head to the All-Star break, and as far as that went, Judge started, Aaron Judge, and American League win. Nothing important came out of that. Cole was unavailable because he had pitched 129 pitches that's a few days before, and Chapman was one of the few players that did not play in that All-Star game. The fact that he's been struggling like crazy was a big reason for that. But if you remember, Jonathan Loaisiga was placed on the COVID list on, I guess, the Saturday, that second game. Before the second game, he was placed on the COVID list. So, okay, like one guy, don't think too much of it. And then the Yankee-Red Sox game Thursday. So we find out Thursday that early, Nestor Cortez, who's been pitching really well, and Wandy Peralta were placed on the COVID list. The corresponding moves to that aren't really so important. I believe it was Trey Amburgey and a pitcher. Zach Britton was activated from the IL. That's what it was. Zach Britton was activated. Okay, so things seem normal. Then all of a sudden, there's reports that, the Yankees left the field during batting practice, and then all of a sudden, Ken Rosenthal, I believe it was, comes out with a tweet saying Yankees-Red Sox is postponed and there's more COVID cases. So Yankees-Red Sox postponed to, I believe, in August. So what was supposed to be a 4-game series is just a 3-game series, and the 3 players that tested positive, these were positive tests. So you have the 3 with Loaisiga in Houston, then Cortez and Peralta, and then it's Aaron Judge, who, like I said, had been in Colorado for the All-Star game, Gio Urshela, and Kyle Higashioka. It's believed that most of them were vaccinated, but not all of them. And I mean, this is a conversation for another day and another place, but I believe Judge or Higashioka would have been the ones that weren't vaccinated. And who knows, as it pertains to this episode and this podcast, that's, we're not going to get too into that. But, so yeah, now at that point, they call up, and also Luke Voit placed on the IL with a left knee. I'm not sure exactly what it was termed, strain or soreness. I don't know what they called it. But again, Voit's season, I had said this about a month ago. It just feels like a bit of a lost year for him. I don't know. It hasn't been great when he's been healthy. So Voit on the shelf. So just a lot all at once. And so Gittins comes back and replaces Voit. And then you would have Rob Brantley replace Higashioka, Greg Allen, and Hoyjun Park replace Judge and Urshela. So that's where they were at that point in time. So huge difference roster-wise. This isn't a great team as it is. Now, you take away Loaisiga, Cortez, Judge, and Gio in particular. That's a pretty big loss for this. Those are huge losses for this team. And the injury bug isn't going away either, as within this series, and again, there's been so much that maybe I'm forgetting here, but Tim Locastro would tear his ACL in game 2. He's out for the season. And so then they would call up Ryan Lamar. And then in game 3, Trey Amburgey pulled a hamstring, or might have been a cramp situation, but Amburgey, new players getting hurt as well. So yeah, and not to mention, Darren O'Day, I believe, is now out. It came out that Darren O'Day's out for the season. Michael King is still on the shelf. Miguel Andujar still out. Clint Frazier's still out. You have, of course, Severino and Gleyber. Like, it's building up. Again, it's kind of that next man up mentality, which kind of worked this weekend. You know, it's been the core that's been the problem, and some of these guys, and again, this roster is unrecognizable. This is an unrecognizable roster in a lot of ways, but a lot of those players came through. So again, this is, I mean, tons of like housekeeping items here, and I think I covered all of it. But in terms of now, Loizaga is going to be back, I believe, for this Philly series, but those other five, it feels like they might be out through that whole week. So I think they're going to be out for that whole Red Sox series, which is going to be important. So not great, but hopefully other players can step up. So let's just jump right ahead. So this becomes a 3-game series. So now, instead of Herman was going to go Thursday, instead Herman would have a relief appearance in game 1, which I actually attended, which sucked. It was a terrible game, and I wish I hadn't been there, but what can you do? And Herman will now start the first game against Philly. So it would be Montgomery, Cole, and Tyone. And the pitching that's been, for me, there was some bad times, but it's been good. I mean, the pitching, considering some of the injuries and just the fact that on paper it's not amazing, I think that they've held their own. It's really been the offense has been the problem, and that was certainly the case in game 1. So game 1 would be Eduardo Rodriguez, who's had now 2 really good starts against the Yankees, but has been bad against everyone else. I don't know what it is, but let me just say the lineup. In this one, LeMahieu, Stanton, Odor batting third against the lefty, Sanchez, Torres, Gardner, Gittins, Ambergi, and Locastro. Again, not looking great on paper, just because, forgetting even about Voit for a second, like, let's just take him out of the equation. Judge and Urshela, that's big. That's big right there. And the Yankees would be shut out in this one, which has happened a lot this year. They have shut out teams, and they've also been shut out quite a bit. And, once they went down early, that was it. Montgomery, he's consistent in the fact that he's always going to be good for about 5 or 6 innings and about like 3 or so runs. That's kind of what it is with Montgomery. Like, he's a middle to back end of the rotation kind of guy. So, but the second inning would burn him, as, and I guess I should mention too, being there, like, Stanton really had a bad night and a bad series. Like, Giancarlo Stanton, you got to step up when you have guys out, be that leader. He certainly wasn't in this series. This was an extremely, and I just feel like in general against Boston, ever since he's been a Yankee, it hasn't been very good against them specifically. But 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and a double play in the first. Key double play in the first kind of ruined any momentum that they may have had, because Montgomery pitched a good first inning. And then the second is where the damage is done. Bogart's leadoff walk, Devers double, RBI ground out Renfroe, Vasquez flat. But within this, he's getting hit pretty hard. Now, the Devers double, Gardner could have maybe made that play, but it wasn't easy. And then Vasquez hit a nice fly ball to left as well. So, but then the damage, this is the key play of the game. Christian Arroyo, who got hurt in game 3, had a couple of really good games in games 1 and 2. And yeah, he hits a 2-run homer and gives the Red Sox a 3-0 lead. And at that moment, I'm thinking, all right, game over. And it was. It really was. There's not a whole lot else to say here. In the 5th, they would mount a little bit of a rally where with 2 outs, Gittins would walk. He would walk twice in this game. And then Ambergi reached on an error by first baseman Bobby Dahlbeck. So it's first and third, 2 outs for Tim Locastro, who strikes out. So had a chance, he was the tying run, had a chance right there, couldn't get it done. Montgomery would settle down and at least give them that length. Herman pitches a scoreless 7th. I like what I've seen from Herman more, since he's been in that relief role. And then Tanner Houck would come in, young pitcher for Boston, showed some promise last year. And also Duran, you'll see he didn't play in this game, but Jaron Duran makes his MLB debut for the Red Sox. He seems like he could be a promising player, which is exactly what you want to hear as a Yankee fan. But another 2-out rally. Again, Gittins walks, Greg Allen pinch hits. And I like Greg Allen really made his presence felt. This is more of a veteran type, whereas Ambergy and Parker didn't really get much action in this series. Greg Allen, he was on Cleveland for some time. Might have had a cup of coffee with the Padres. I think the Yankees may have acquired. It was either a free agent signing or they traded. It might have been a trade from the Padres. Either way, Greg Allen, I liked what I saw from this weekend, and I think he'll get some more playing time. He's a switch hitter, got some speed, can play all outfield positions, so I think he could be kind of useful. And he gets a nice line drive single to make it first and third. So making his major league debut, pinch hitting for Tim LeCastro would be Hoychun Park. And Park would unfortunately ground out. And he would play right field, which I think he's like an infielder. Pretty sure he's like a second baseman. So, but yeah, for the rest of this game, he actually made a couple plays in right field, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go that way. Although, if Ambergy's hurt, we'll see. But they are pretty covered with Lamar coming up and Wade is versatile. So we'll see. But then Justin Wilson comes in the eighth, and the guy just cannot pitch his scoreless inning. He gets the first two guys out, and then he has JD Martinez 0-2, and he gives up a home run. Justin Wilson and Darren O'Day, for different reasons, were really poor signings by Brian Cashman this offseason. Just really bad. Wilson's been not the same guy from 2015. It's the guy who got us Chad Green and Luis Sessa. Just not that guy. And then Chapman would pitch the ninth, and he was lucky to not give up anything. Devers hit a ball to the track. Renfroe walked. He would get Vasquez to strike out looking, and then Arroyo would fly out to the track. So I didn't love it, but he didn't give up a run. Yankees lose 4-0. And at this point, it's like, yep, this team is horrible, playing out the string. They should be sellers, this and that. Let's move to game two. Game two, weird game. Rain-shortened game. Yankees got lucky here. Yankees got very lucky to win this one, in my opinion. A lot of things went their way. And maybe you could say that things didn't go their way at other points in the season, and I guess things can balance themselves out, but let's just be honest. Lucky win in some ways, but here's the key here. Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole would follow up his really good outing against Houston with a really good outing against Boston. It ends up being a complete game. 6 innings, 5 hits, an earned run, 2 walks, and 11 strikeouts. Great line. And he battled through some things, and also Gary Sanchez caught him. So it shows you, Sanchez, the whole Higashioka Cole thing, it doesn't have to be. If Sanchez is going to be competent, then there's no problem with him catching Cole. In this game, it would be the same lineup, except Greg Allen would start instead of Trey Ambergy. That's basically it. Otherwise, it was generally the same. That's the important thing there. So, Nate Eovaldi, the former Yankee, would be on the mound for the Red Sox. No Xander Bogaerts in this game. So that's, of course, really important. But this was a really weird game. A lot of rain. It was delayed for an hour, even though it didn't rain. There was no tarp on the field, and it wasn't raining. Just super bizarre. But that's what happened. And Cole gets into some early trouble, but he's able to escape. Kike Hernandez gets a double, and then Verdugo flies out to LeCastro, and this is where he tears his ACL. He actually would finish the inning, but LeCastro makes a really nice catch in foul territory, and Kike Hernandez would tag and go to third only because LeCastro was in pain. But it's a way to go out. LeCastro was only on the team for, I guess, a couple weeks, but if he's going to be on the Yankees next year, I did like what I saw. Got some speed, good defense, showed a little bit of pop, so we'll see. But that's it for LeCastro, sadly. But Cole was able to get Martinez and Devers to strike out. And the first inning, the Yankees, we had a little bit going with 2 outs. Odor hit by a pitch and Sanchez hit by a pitch, but then Gleyber would fly out to right. In the second, so Tyler Wade will replace LeCastro in the field. And that just goes to show, again, as far as Park not really being trusted in the field for that amount of time. I guess they felt it was okay in that first game, given the situation, but Wade would come in. And so with 1 out, Duran, first pitch of his career against Garrett Cole, no less, gets a single. So good moment for the kid. And then Vasquez grounds out, moves Duran to second. And then Christian Arroyo continues his good series with an RBI single and makes it 1-0 Red Sox. Then the Yankees would be shut down. But Cole himself would do what he needed to do. And in the fifth is where things get interesting. In the bottom of the fifth, 2-out rally here. Greg Allen gets a double. So Allen again, and to this point in the series, the Yankees weren't doing much, but Allen was one of the guys that did. It's a double, and then DJ LeMahieu, who is actually after the series on a 30-game on-base streak, which I believe is the longest in Major League Baseball this whole season. It's kind of surprising. Look, I think he's been better, but he just finds a way each game to get on. So it's not as if it's like crazy multi-hit games, but he comes through when he has to. And here, a really big 2-out RBI single from LeMahieu to tie it up at 1. Then in the sixth, which would turn out to be the last inning, we didn't know it at the time, but it would be an inning where Cole would get into some trouble. He would get 2 strikeouts for Verdugo Martinez. Then he walked Devers. Infield single for Renfroe. Then he walked Duran. Bases loaded, 2 out. Vasquez 0-2 count. And the first base ump calls Vasquez out swinging. It didn't look like he went. It didn't. So while Cole could have still got him out, he would have been in the driver's seat at 1-2. Lucky to get him out right then and there. So it would stay tied. Then we go to the bottom of the sixth, and a Yankee fan, some idiot, threw a ball at Alex Verdugo. And mind you, at this time, it is pouring. Absolutely pouring. So the whole Red Sox team gets off the field after this incident. Verdugo was really upset, and just a really classless move by this dumb Yankee fan who throws a ball at Verdugo. Yeah, apparently he's banned from all major league parks. I don't know how that even exactly works, but here nor there. So that was happening, which was weird. And then in the sixth, as it turns out, the Yankees would win the game. So Sawamura comes in for Eovaldi, who really did well. And then it would be back-to-back 1-out home runs, Yankee Stadium opposite field home runs. Gary Sanchez and Gleyber Torres. That was it. That was it. I mean, there was some more things that happened after that, but it doesn't matter. Yankees end up, and Cole was going to come out for the seventh. The guy's a bulldog. He was at like mid-90s pitch count-wise, and he hadn't pitched like between the time the top of the sixth had finished and the top of seventh was going to start with the whole Verdugo baseball thing and the rain and just pitching changes. But he was going to come back out there, and it speaks to how much they trust Cole and how much they don't trust the pen. But the Yankees win 3-1. So now, who's going to win the series? It's the rubber game, Sunday Night Baseball, and it is Martin Perez versus Jameson Taillon. Jameson Taillon has been really good lately. Been excellent. And so at this point before the game, Lamar replaces LeCastro on the roster. He would start in this game and actually contribute. The bottom of the order came through big time. And again, Taillon, it's been a turnaround. And maybe that makes sense. Look, the guy had, he hadn't pitched in a while, coming off Tommy John. So it was going to take some time. And he's been pounding the strike zone. It looks better for him. And we'll just see what happens. But it's encouraging. So, like I said, in this one, no Gardner. He would eventually come in because Ambergi got hurt, but Gardner did not start this one. And the outfield would be, to start, Lamar in left, Allen in center, Ambergi in right. And, otherwise the same crew beyond that. So just some outfield juggling. Bogart's back in the lineup for Boston. But this was a very nice win for the Yankees. A lot of like good fundamentals, mostly. This was a good one. I mean, I like this game for the Yankees. Where they got lucky in game 2, this is a definite, no doubt about it win. And really the first one, it felt like, against the Sox all season. So in the second, Gleyber Torres homers again. So Torres, back-to-back homers, his 5th of the year. So maybe this gets him going. I kind of have doubts, but it's a good sign that he's able to do that, and hopefully he can keep this momentum moving forward because, with Torres, it was a pretty good, whereas I was present at the game in game 1 and was really not happy with him, it looked better the last couple games. So bottom of the third, Yankees add on. Greg Allen singles, him again, right? Coming through. And then it's a hit and run single with DJ LeMahieu. LeMahieu is the perfect guy for the hit and run. Allen with some speed. Love to see it. First and third, 1 out. And because Giancarlo Stanton hit the ball as slowly as he did, he beats out a double play. So don't really credit Stanton, but the key, again, the LeMahieu Allen hit and run gets them that run and makes it 2-0. And on that double play is when Arroyo got hurt. Now, in the fifth, top of the fifth, Christian Vasquez gets a 1-out double. And on that play, Lamar in right looked like he got hurt. So it's like, here we go again. Crazy. LeCastro the night before, Ambergi earlier in the game, and now Lamar, who had gotten hurt earlier in the year when he was called up, but he ended up being fine. He stayed in there, and Tyone got out of it. But in the fifth, Rougned Odor. Rougned Odor has really surprisingly been very solid for this team and very useful. He would get a bunt single, which he had done on Sunday Night Baseball a couple weeks ago against the Mets at home. Same thing, drag bunt, and it works. Odor, he's a spark plug, energy guy, seems to be well liked in the clubhouse. It's gotten better than I really thought it would have. So kudos to Odor, and it wouldn't stop there from in this game. But then you have Lamar getting a single, and this is where Odor gets a little aggressive, but it works. I don't know with Renfroe's arm if he should have tested it. He did, and he was safe. And because the throw went away, Lamar reaches second. So it's second and third. There's no out, and they bring in Garrett Whitlock, who's able to kind of hold things down at that juncture. Greg Allen, sack fly. Again, love what I saw from Greg Allen in the series. And so that would make it 3-0. Tyone gets into a little bit of trouble in the sixth, as with one out, JD Martinez singles and Xander Bogaerts doubles. Chad Green comes in for the first time since his implosion against Houston, and you wish that he'd done well in that game, but he does well here. He strikes out Devers, and then Renfroe grounds out. And, that was a big situation in the game. Devers and Renfroe were tying runs. So then Green pitches a clean seventh. There was a walk there, but a couple of strikeouts, so good job by Chad Green tonight. And then in the bottom of the seventh, Darwinzon Hernandez, the lefty, comes on and didn't do well against lefties, which was kind of surprising. Brett Gardner gets an opposite field single, and then Rougned Odor hits a launch job, 2-run homer, his 10th homer of the year, which is a lot considering the amount of at-bats he's had. And that would make it 5-0. That was a really big homer for Odor, a really good night for him. And that bottom of the order, Odor, Lamar, and Allen were key in this victory. So, like I said, Lamar steals second after he walks, after the Odor homer. And then they bring in Brandon Workman, who just could not find the strike zone. That's kind of his thing. He walks players. And so after LeMahieu flies out and Stanton flies out, Lamar moves to third on the Stanton flyout. Greg Allen's still second. So we're 2 steals in an inning, Lamar and Allen. And then Gary Sanchez walks, so you have bases loaded for Torres. He walks, so that gets a run in. And then Chris Gittens walks. That gets a run in. So 7-0 Yanks. Then in the eighth, Zach Britton makes his first appearance since he returns from the IL. And he threw a lot of pitches and a couple of walks. He walked Martinez and Devers. He also struck out Verdugo and Chavis, who pinch hit for Bogaerts. But they took Britton couldn't finish the inning. Licky comes in, gives up a bloop RBI single to Hunter Renfroe, but then would get Duran to ground out. So 7-1 Yanks at this point. And then Odor leadoff walk of the eighth. And then Ryan Lamar, first home run as a Yank. Good night for Ryan Lamar. 2-run homer. Another opposite field Yankee Stadium home run. And it makes it 9-1. And then Chapman pitches the ninth. And Chapman was going to close, which, man, I don't trust it. And it was another warning track situation where Plawecki flies out to the track, but then he would strike out Dahlbeck and get Kike Hernandez to ground out. So Yankees win the series, much to my surprise, with this roster, but maybe somehow, and this will probably be a narrative, is maybe this sort of next man up mentality can spark them. I still have doubts, for sure, but they are hanging around. Look, they've won 3 straight series. If you keep on winning series, then you're going to have a chance to, get to that next level. So next up, 2-game set home against the Phillies. Phillies are playing pretty good baseball right now. And the Yankees lost 2 at Philly. The first matchup is a rematch of one of those games. Aaron Nola versus Domingo Germán. That did not go well for the Yankees whatsoever. The Yankees got blown out in that Nola-Germán matchup. They're hoping for better. And then I would assume Wednesday, barring, let's just say, Cortez coming back, and even if he did, it's probably going to be Montgomery Wednesday, which I guess is kind of interesting only because, and they haven't announced Montgomery yet, but I think it'll be him because they have a 4-game set with Boston. So Montgomery would be that one guy who would not be used against Boston. But he hasn't been amazing lately. He's been, like I said, just kind of average. So that's where they're at. 2 game set, home against Philly. Then they go to Boston for 4. Then they go to Tampa, I believe, for 3. This is a huge part of the season for the Yankees with the trade deadline coming up. A lot unknown with the COVID situation, but hey, this ended up being a good series for the Yankees, and they finally do well against the Boston Red Sox, which you're always going to be happy about.